Hola clase. Today I'm going to show you how to obtain all the graphs that you need for your time series report. We're going to do them all with NZGrapher. You are familiar with the page, so it brings you there. Start using NZGrapher, and I'm going to use the same data set that we've been using. Open file in here. Got them somewhere here. Now you're seeing here that I've got 2 copies. And you're going to see why in a second. I'm going to use the original, which is the whole data set. Click and open, or double click. And you can see here, time, Arctic and Antarctic. I've done the example with the Arctic. So these are the data that it's going to load. And I'm going to need to come in here and basically obtain all these 4 graphs for the time series. The first one, it's just the time series, the raw data. It gives me an error because I haven't selected anything yet. Variable 1 is always the time. Variable 2 is whichever you want the time series to show. In our case, the Arctic ice cap. So we click in here, it thinks for a second, and it gives me this raw data, which is the one that I'm going to use to make the original observations, the preliminary comments. Remember that I can come here and adapt the graph title. I can change the labels if I want in here. And for each of these graphs, remember that you take a snip tool across, take the capture and put it on your doc. We're going to do the same with everyone, so I'm not going to comment on that again. You know that each one you need to put them back. Now remember that for each of the graphs, for all of them, if I need to read any point, I want to know where's the maximum or the minimum, I want to compare points. If I simply hover over carefully, it will read the point, as you can see there, and it highlights it in the data set, so I can see which one it's talking about and see the actual values. For example, if I'm doubting in between these two, which one goes lower, I can read this one. Read this one and comment on those. Once I've got the raw data, I simply need to come in here and ask for the long-term trend. It automatically gives me the seasonal effects. Unclick that one, because that way you've got the full graph and you can make a better reading. And then the one after that, start and end points, click it, and it will give you the readings of where the trend line is starting here and finishing there, which will make your comments on the slope of the overall trend much easier later. Once you've got that, then you simply scroll down again and ask for the seasonal effects. You don't need to select anything new, simply change the graph. And what it does is it takes every single cycle, it overlaps it in here, and with that calculates the seasonal effect and gives you values for peaks above the trend line or valleys below. And same deal, I can just scroll over them and get actual readings of the seasonal value above or below the line. Once we've got that, we are going to scroll down to see all the options. We need to make the decomposition and recomposition, the same deal. Click in here. And what it makes is it gives you the raw data overlapping in here the trend and seasonal, so the pure model, the seasonal effects, and then it calculates the residuals. And the same as with the points, I can come into the residuals and check for their specific values just by scrolling over, so that way I don't have to eyeball it. As you see, I don't have the start and end points in here. I can leave them there if I want, but I've already used them, so I can take them out for clarity. And the last one that I need, it's the forecasts, and for that I need twice, so click in there, and that's going to give you the historic predictions and the forecast that you will use. And then later, here, forecast output, you will need to take a screenshot of this one because these are the values that you will use. This is the actual prediction for whichever point in time you are searching, and these are the extremes of the confidence interval, you are 95% sure that your prediction will fall within this margin. Now, the next step that you can do to check if that model was good enough, it's what we call a robustness test, in which we load the data, but now what I'm loading is this copy of the data set here. So double click, and what you can see there, it's I came and took the last year of data, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply ask with this new data set, which is shorter than the other, for NZGrapher to make me a forecast. So I'm going to click time and use the same variable, Arctic. Let's take this one out so we see the graph first. And what it's doing is, with the data it's using, it's giving me the next forecast, but this data I already have. I've got one extra year. So if I take a reading of this, if this model was good enough, the actual data that was recorded will fall within the confidence interval. It doesn't need to be the exact prediction, but it falls within the confidence interval. And that's why we call a robustness test that we can use to discuss whether we are confident in our calls or not, and whether our model was fit enough for a prediction or not. So those are all the graphs you need, and they are all in here on the time series, all 4 of them, plus 1 extra for the robustness test. And that's it. Now it's your turn to go and practice. Thanks for watching.